Once again, this is subjective, however I'm sure most people would agree that the add-ons on this list are a must-have. Like if you agree with me and leave a comment on what add-ons you use that I have missed out on. To elaborate, these are add-ons I use and most other people use that are a give or take must-have for WoW, otherwise you can't play the game properly or enjoyably. These add-ons are not really cosmetic, they are more like add-ons that should be by default on your computer. Now, just getting this out there, but this is a very basic guide. If you are already well acquainted with WoW or add-ons, you've probably already have these ones. This is intended for people who are new to WoW or the concept of add-ons. With that said, the best database for add-ons is a program called Curse Client. If you do not already have Curse, go and download it. It is free, allows you to search add-ons via popularity, rating, class, and category like professions, PvE, and PvP, etc. Okay, let's begin. Number 1, Deadly Boss Mods or Big Wigs. These two add-ons are pretty much the same at what they do. Take your pick of which one you prefer. At the end of the day, it really does not matter. I use Deadly Boss Mods, so I'll be referring to it as that. Deadly Boss Mods is pretty much universally accepted as a must-have add-on no matter what. This add-on will show you important boss mechanics either as they happen or moments before, including things like visual warnings, audio warnings, flashing, sound effects, and so on. It will tell you important stuff, like if you have a debuff that damages people near you. It will tell you when you get that debuff in huge letters in the center of your screen to move away from everyone. Don't question it, just do it. It will give you a visual display on boss cooldowns, enrage timers, and more. Even if you are not into PvE that much, I still highly recommend this, as this add-on is pretty much accepted as an important part of the game. On that note, if you are into PvP, you should still download this add-on and download the Deadly Boss Mods PvP add-on. This add-on is crucial in PvP, both battlegrounds and arenas. It will display timers on how long until flags respawn, how long until they are taken by a faction, and even how long until a faction wins the game on their current resource income as well as Shadow Sight cooldown in arena. All up if you are ever even going to boot up WoW. Install Deadly Boss Mods before you do anything. Number 2, Recount or SCADA. Much like number 1, these two add-ons do exactly the same thing, it just boils down to personal preference. For me, I use Recount. Recount is fairly simple. It is an add-on that shows how much DPS, healing, damage taken, dispels, etc. you, your group, or raid are doing. Most commonly referred to as a DPS meter, it can track pretty much everything that happens in the encounters you'll be in. The purpose of this add-on is to track your DPS or healing and see how you can improve. By clicking on your meter in the box, it will display percentages and a pie graph showing you your most damaging and least damaging spells, as well as critical strike chance. Alternatively, you can hover your cursor over the bars to see the top 3 or so damaging or healing abilities that a person is doing. You can track other people and have multiple counters going off at the same time, so you can track everything. It's very customizable and automatically tracks pet damage as well as adds it to your meter. However, if you do not want that feature, you can split the meter and have your pets have their own DPS meters to see their most damaging abilities and find the pet with the highest DPS output. Once again, a must-have for both PvP and PvE, as it allows you to see where you can improve on your rotation. Number 3, Decursive. This one is a bit situational, but still very highly recommended. This add-on is fairly useless to classes like Warriors and Death Knights, but most other classes will have a dispel of some sort. What this add-on does is create small boxes near each other that represent you and your party or raid. The boxes can be moved anywhere on the screen. If someone gets a debuff in your party or raid that you can dispel, the box representing them will light up. If your class has more than one dispel ability, they will be assigned to your left and right clicks. You can see which move is set to which via hovering your mouse over the box. Anyway, once you see someone who has been debuffed with a move that you can dispel, all you have to do is click on the box representing them and it cleanses them straight away. Plus, if it has a cooldown, the boxes will have a cooldown timer just like your normal moves, so you do not actually need to put your cleanse ability on your bars, which saves an uncanny amount of time, especially if the debuff is very dangerous. This add-on is a godsend for healers, good and thoughtful DPS and PvPers alike. It's pretty much essential in the late game if you want to get into the whole hardcore raiding stuff, since every class must be utilizing all of its abilities, and this add-on excels at that department, in terms of dispelling anyway. Number 4, Bagnon. This is a personal one for me. I hate the bag system in WoW, how they all have individual bag boxes and you have to shift click or shift B to open all of them, and the banking tabs, and all these boxes drive me insane. All this is fixed by Bagnon, which all it does is consolidate all of your bags into one really big bag, so it's just one tab that opens up. It does it as well for the bank and void storage or any other bag-like mechanic you can think of in WoW. If it was not for this add-on, I would have lost my shit a long time ago. The individual bags drive me to insanity. I hate it so much, but this add-on has saved WoW for me. I highly recommend it if the bags bother you. Number 5, Need to Know. This add-on is less of a necessity and more of a helpful everyday tool, particularly if you PvP or PvE. Essentially, this add-on creates a bunch of bars that count down when a spell, cooldown, buff, or debuff activates, and shows how long until that effect will either last, or in the case of it is a cooldown, it will show you how long until you can cast that move again. For this add-on, I assign all of my cooldowns on the bars and consolidate them together. I keep the bar near the middle of my screen, so I can constantly track how long until I can use set cooldowns. I also track important buffs on me. For example, as a warlock I have Backdraft, Mana Tap, and Conflagration of Chaos to keep an eye out for. It helps me a lot more when I can easily see when I have said buffs and how long they will last, since I have no visual cue. This add-on is very user-friendly and customizable. The bars can be anywhere on the screen, as big as small as you like. Can track pretty much anything that happens, and you can change the color of the bars, show the icon of the spells next to it, etc. This add-on has an endless amount of possibilities and really helps out in any PvP or PvE situation. Now, I have a few bonus add-ons that I'd like to mention. I call these ones bonuses because they're not really essential but very handy. They are also for a niche market, so some people will have zero use out of them. However, for those people that are seeking something like these add-ons, it's a godsend and must-have. Number 6, Atlas Loot or Mogget. Just like before, both these add-ons do pretty much the same thing. I don't like Mogget's interface, so I use Atlas Loot since I find it more informative and it's been around for most of my WoW career. Anyway, as you could probably gather from their names, these are transmog add-ons. Fun fact, Atlas Loot was originally just a loot add-on, since in the old days of WoW, aka before patch 4.2, aka before Cataclysm, it was not possible to see what instances or raid bosses dropped, so Atlas Loot was made so we could see which PvE content we needed to do to get better gear. Moving on, these add-ons show you how and where to get gear for your transmog, which can vary from PvP, PvE, crafting gear, world drops, quests, etc. Atlas Loot also shows you sets of gear and how to obtain them. So, for example, tier 5 and what bosses drop each tier set. You can save favorite gear or collections you want to put together, however I don't use this feature because I either write it down or remember it, so I can't elaborate on how useful it is. Number 7, XRP or My Roleplay. I don't do any roleplay, but I'm aware that a fair few new players to the game might be in it, and from what I've heard, if you want to get into RP, you have to have one of these two add-ons. I can't elaborate too much on how good they are or their function as I have never used them, but from what I can gather it allows you to make a background story or profile for your WoW character, as well as view other people's stories and backgrounds. If you want to find out better information about RP, then there are probably better WoW YouTubers to go to. This is not really my department. The only one I know of is Nixion, who I highly recommend even if you are not into RP. Before you go, don't forget to vote in the polls and let us know which add-on is your favorite on this list. Like if you use these add-ons, or if this was informative for you, leave a comment on your preferred add-ons and subscribe if you like me. It helps me out a lot and I'll like you back. I can't prove it, so just take my word for it. Have a good one.